So I'd like to tell you about the most powerful whole body focusing session I ever had, and incidentally Kevin wasn't even there. But I was suffering from carpal tunnel syndrome, and carpal tunnel syndrome is something that happens when you work, say, at a computer for too long or in an incorrect way. It's a very painful condition where the carpal tunnel tightens in your wrists. And I mean, I don't know everything about it medically, but I do know that I saw the doctor about it, and they had special braces made so that I wouldn't have to have surgery, or hopefully so I wouldn't have to have surgery. And that worked for a while, but then the pain was coming back, and it was so painful I couldn't sleep at night, so the only solution was surgery. And I didn't want to have surgery. So one day I sat down before I went into the office, and I sat down for 2 hours and I started to focus all by myself. And I listened inside, and the first thing I felt was my gut. My gut was hurting. And then I felt the connection to my gut into my tight armpits and right down into the wrist. So I could feel there was a connection all the way down. And it was really, it was painful, it was despairing. There was an element of nausea around it as well as I listened to that. And I just listened, and it was pretty despairing. Because I was unable to make my living doing something that I didn't even like. I mean, I was doing what I didn't like, and I was unable to even make my living at that. So I was full of despair. But another thing that started to happen was that there started to be some kind of movement. There was movement in my spine. Yeah, that was it. There was movement in my spine, and there was connections all the way through, all the way from the gut pain up the spine, through the armpits, right down through my wrists. And I just sat with that. And you know what? There wasn't a single answer. No, there was no answer. I just sat with it. I decided I'd sit for 2 hours, and I sat for 2 hours. But when I went to the office, that day, I sat down at the computer, and I mean, it was incredible what happened, because my fingers were actually stretching to the keyboard. And what had been a very painful act was just the opposite. And that connection all the way through my arm, down my spine, into my gut, into that painful knot, all of that pain and awful stuff was just the opposite. It was full of life. There was, I mean, just full of life in my gut, all the way down the arms into my fingers, and they were reaching out to the keyboard. It was pleasurable. It was pleasurable to use the computer, and it had been painful for years, to the point where I was wearing the braces and couldn't sleep at night. And it was pleasurable, and the pain never came back. It was 80% gone on that very first day, and it never came back. I could sleep at night, and the pain never came back. It changed the way I worked with my colleagues. It changed the way I interacted with people at the office. I took breaks, which I hadn't been taking. It changed the way I worked. It changed my whole everything at the office. My life just started to open up. And I don't know what to say. It's just that it all came about by listening, allowing, or somehow this movement happened and these connections came through, and owning that I couldn't do anything about it.